What do you guys want to talk about?
Let me talk to you.
Yeah.
Throwdown Nation, we are live. It is a Wednesday. We are rolling on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter /X, Facebook, and Twitch. It is episode 188 of the Throwdown, where we celebrate the art and sport of professional wrestling with a strong focus on the indies. I'm your host, Matt, and today is going to be fun. We are throwing down with Florida-based co-owner / co-founder / marketing whiz / den mother for the House of Champions in Orlando, Mama HOC herself, Renee Stuible. How you doing, Renee?
I am good, Matt. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Like I said before we went on the air, this is one I've definitely been excited for. And, for those of you watching live, let me direct your attention to the ticker running on the bottom of the screen. That contains all, or at least most, of Renee's social media accounts, along with the accounts for the House of Champions, as well as mine. So do us a favor, if you aren't a follower or subscriber, please take the time and go to each of the platforms and do so. It definitely benefits all of us. And any questions or comments you guys have, just throw them in the chat and we'll either handle them as we go or do a little Q&A at the end. So we'll go ahead and kind of get started with sort of the first and most obvious question, and that is, do you consider yourself to be a wrestling fan?
Oh, that's a really good opening question. Yes. I am a wrestling fan. I grew up watching wrestling with my papa when it was like the Stone Cold era.
Oh, yes.
So I remember I used to go over, I lived right next door to my grandparents. I used to go over every Monday night and have to watch wrestling Monday Night Raw with my grandpa. I remember my mom would be so mad. She's like, "Don't let her watch that trash, Dad," is what she'd say. Little did I know that, 20 years later, I would marry a wrestler myself.
Life will take you some interesting directions if you let it. I mean,
yes, the first when Nick and I met, Jamie, depending on what you call him, he didn't tell me he was training to be a wrestler at first because he was scared it would scare me away. And most women, it should scare them away, I would say. No, I'm just teasing. But he waited like 3 months to tell me. And then I remember we were like talking and he's like, "I'm going to training tonight." I'm like, "Training? Like, you've already been to the gym. What kind of training are you training for?" And then he's like, "Well, it's probably time I tell you." And he's told this on podcasts before because it's one of my favorite stories. But my response to him after he told me wasn't, "Oh, that's weird." It was, quote, "Oh my gosh, I used to be the biggest Booker T fan and I can do a mean spinneroonie." And I can't anymore. But that was my response to him. So he said he wanted to marry me on the spot.
That is awesome. That was actually my second question. You're married to Jamie. How exactly did you guys meet?
Yeah, it was very God ordained. It was straight. So
Awesome.
we're both from Michigan. Let me start there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I'm basically from Canada.
Oh, you're a Youper.
I am a
they
Youper.
call it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm a proud Youper that now lives in Florida and hates the cold, but still a proud Youper. And my husband, Nick, is from Lansing. So we're 8 hours apart. Same state, but like very far apart. And I was living in Nashville at the time. I was working in the music industry. And my old roommate got married up in my hometown. So I went up there to celebrate his marriage. And the best man in the wedding, I had known for a while because it was his best friend. And I met him when I used to live at the house. And long story short, that's Jamie's brother. And I had known his brother for years before we met. And we met at the wedding in my hometown. And he told me he's also from Michigan, but lives in Nashville, like 6 miles from me. So we had fun at the wedding. I drove back, he flew back, maybe vice versa. And then we went on our first date in Nashville 4 days later. That's how we met.
Nice. Love stories like that where there's the little serendipities and, everything. You can just see God's hand and,
Absolutely. And then after we started dating, we found out there were like 2 separate occasions, 3 actually, before we met when we were supposed to meet. And then plans fell through, or I decided not to go. And it was like, God was just waiting for the perfect time for us to meet. So
Absolutely. I'm a bit older. I became a wrestling fan around the time I was 11 years old. And I just turned 56 a few months ago. So, I've been a fan, varying levels of fandom at different points in my life but basically 45 years. And, it has been a cool ride getting to see a lot of iconic moments in wrestling as they happened rather than retrospectively. So, it's been really, really neat. And looking over at the Instagram chat, we've got a few people showing up. We've got actually my previous guest, Patrick Tully, who's a wrestler out on the West Coast, out in Washington State. And then we've got Marcus 8772 hanging out with us as well. So at what point did the idea or thought of the House of Champions come about? How did you and Jamie come to the decision to go forward with something like this? And kind of give us the basic history of the school.
Yeah, we had no intention to open a wrestling school.
Okay.
Very upfront about it. And we, I'm trying to think. So it's probably 2022. We felt, we're both working corporate jobs. We felt very called to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had the entrepreneur bug. Always. You can ask him. I'm always coming home with some crazy idea. So I know I always knew I wanted to own my own business. And then he's always wanted to own a gym. Like he's a fitness fanatic. He loves working out. So our original intent when we started getting this pulling and this tug on our heart was like, okay, we think God's telling us to open a gym. We even tried to become personal trainers for a while, bought all the books and everything, got like a chapter in. We're like, yeah, that's not for us. Like we'll do the business side, not the science side. So we were praying about it a lot. And then, we both kind of came to the conclusion. We're like, well, we want to open a gym that is wrestling focused. So the original business plan behind the House of Champions was very much like a commercial gym with a little bit of wrestling on the side. So we wrote a business plan. We weren't quite sure what to do with it. We're like, listen, let's do what we know what to do. And that's write a business plan. Like we don't have any money to do anything further. So we will do what we can now and we'll let God take the reins after. So we wrote the plan. I remember it was like November and December of 2022. And come January, I'm like, okay, it's done. Now what? Where's the money coming from? It wasn't coming. And so we're like, well, what's next? Like, what's the next step? So we prayed and I think we just need to call a realtor. Like, let's start looking around. Still no money. So we called and we went through like 3 realtors that literally thought we were crazy because some didn't call us back. Some wouldn't send us any properties. We finally found one who is still our realtor to this day, Tim. We love him. And he was like, you know what? These people are crazy, but I am too. I'm just going to take a chance on them. So he started sending us some stuff. And long story short, we had some family members that heard what we were doing. And invested in us, both of our parents, and they gave us a good chunk of investment money. And then it all happened really fast after that. We ended up finding our current spot. It was when we found our spot that the business plan shifted into what the HOC is today. Our spot, if you've been there, is not big enough for a commercial gym. It is very much a training school and only a training school. And when we left that building, knowing it was absolutely perfect, we were like, well, I guess we can't get it. It doesn't fit our dream. I remember Nick and I left the facility, and as we were driving away, we were really, really quiet, about 2 miles down the road. Out of nowhere, I was like, what if we just make it a school? And he was like, I was thinking the same thing. And then from there on, it just kind of took off. And we opened We opened the doors 6 weeks later. I think it was really fast. So I can't take any credit for the idea of us opening a school. God definitely guided us into that path.
Absolutely. So, looking at some of the other chats, I'm actually going to throw a question on the screen from UK Paul over on Twitch. And he basically wants to know how many times you've wanted to smack the shit out of Matthew Ennis.
Well, first of all, UK Paul, if you come to the HOC, we have the 3C rule. No cursing, no criticism, and no complaining. So we need to work on that. So many times. No, I'm just kidding. I love Matthew Ennis. If he's watching, he's probably at training, so he's not watching. But fun fact, I did smack Baracco in one of our shows. So he's been on the receiving end. Matthew has not been on the receiving end yet. Yeah.
And over on the Instagram chat, Chris Page from CCP Podcasting has popped in and basically just sends his love.
Hello, Chris. Good to see you. Are you coming to the show this month?
Chris is a good dude.
Yes, he sponsored our Legacy show and has always been so supportive of the HOC and also putting on the members on the podcast. We're very appreciative of that.
Absolutely. So, last Friday night, I was sitting in the living room watching SmackDown, and a commercial for Southern New Hampshire University came on featuring Deanna Purrazzo. And, the initial irony of that was not lost on me, as she's presently signed to AEW. But then as the commercial went on, I recognized her surroundings and I was like, that's the HOC. And I was instantly ecstatic. How did that come about?
So we have not as, no credit on mine again. This is just popped in our lap. So we're listed on Peerspace because it's a beautiful event space. So, we have a lot of open hours. So I'm listed on there, and a lot of people will rent it out for like movies or music videos. We've had a lot of private bookings, and we got a request probably about a year ago now that said, hey, we're going to come shoot a commercial for Southern New Hampshire University. One of our alumni is a wrestler. So they booked us through Peerspace. I had no idea who was showing up, who the wrestler was. So we show up that day, and it's Deanna and her husband, Macklin, came too. Steve Macklin came, and they're awesome. That was the first time I had met them personally. I know Nick has met them before. So yeah, that was cool. Got to meet them and watch the shoot. And they, it's funny you mentioned, it ran during SmackDown. I got a bunch of texts. My father-in-law texts us. He's like, I just saw your, on TV. It runs in Michigan all the time. We'll get random friends be like, did I just see your gym on TV? This is weird. Yes, you did. I wish I could say that they ran that on purpose, right? Because Deanna's booked on AEW, signed with AEW, and it ran. Right. But as a corporate marketer, knowing how they buy that, I know it wasn't done on purpose. So I'm not here for any conspiracy theories from the fans.
Right. Right, but I, like I said, though, I saw that and I was like, well, there's some irony. But,
it is ironic. But no, I was really grateful they did that there. It's gotten us a lot of great publicity.
Absolutely. Well, being a person of faith myself, I love the fact that you and Jamie are both believers, and that you bring your beliefs into the training center and kind of revolve the center around faith. And I think that is a lot of what makes the HOC as special as it is. You guys obviously are producing top flight wrestlers, but you're also shaping these young people into quality human beings. And I feel like you're getting them ready to, either either overtly or covertly to kind of take on the mission field that is professional wrestling. And I just, looking at your website, I love the one t-shirt you guys have in your merch that, it's House of Champions, but it's got champions crossed out and it says House of Jesus. I just think that is really beautiful, and I just love the focus that you guys have on that.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it on the outside, it's a wrestling school, but make no mistake, like it's Nick and my ministry. Like God called us to it for a reason. So we don't ever want to lose sight of like what the true mission is there. So yeah, it definitely does revolve around that. All of our core values are based on that. And I think, and I don't say this in like coldness, but the reality is like the majority of our students are like, the majority of the people in wrestling will not get signed. It's like,
right.
It's like the NFL, right?
Yeah.
So knowing the stats and like the reality of what will happen, our mission is to make good people first.
Yep.
Come out of the school
Absolutely.
a little bit better character, a little bit better integrity, Yep. And if you go on to get signed, icing on the cake, right? Like
fantastic. Oh, for sure. Well, the wrestling business, as you know, is a roller coaster. It's the highest of highs, the lowest of lows. What would you say in your time working in and around the wrestling business? What has been your high point in all of this thus far, and what has been your low point in all of this thus far?
That's a really good question. So many things come to mind. So I think there's like two angles of that, because my wrestling experience is twofold. I have the HOC and I have Nick's career. So there's two different paths there. So I can think of different highs and different lows in each. I won't touch too much on his because I'll let him do that when he comes on. But a lot of the highs and lows there are around, the politics of the things that happen in wrestling and the tryouts and all of that. And like, I'll let him chat on that. So I'll focus on the HOC because we're married. Like it's so much like, his wins are my wins, his losses are my losses. And I'm an empath at heart. So like, it's everything that has happened to him, I feel like has happened to me. But as far as the HOC goes, like the highest has been, it's either like our grand opening or like the 1 year party, probably the 1 year party, because like, we didn't even know if it would work. You're like on paper, it should not have worked. Like Nick's never been signed to a major company. Neither had Keikoa, like our head coach. I had no business. I had never run a successful business before I wanted to. But this is just really a testament to that, like God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. So all glory to him on all the success that has happened, because like we just were obedient servants. So like I think that's been the high, like at the year point, being like, oh my gosh, like we listened and it worked. Thank you. The low point, entrepreneurship is a roller coaster. I mean, I think yesterday, like I was like crying, like ready to like, oh, we're gonna go bankrupt, and then like like we lose a member. We're doing something wrong. And then we get 2 members. We're like, yay. So like it is up and down, up and down, up and down. So honestly, I can't tell you like the low point, because there's a lot of them. I think the biggest lesson that I'm still learning is like trying to be as level-headed as possible when it comes to the business, because this is never going to end. We're constantly going to be gaining people, losing people, upsetting people, making people happy. So trying to be as level-headed as possible without letting outside circumstances and other people's opinions influence my own.
Gotcha. Well, you are obviously an exceedingly busy person, and definitely knowing that, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. But what is your secret to balancing everything?
I get asked that a lot. One day at a time, by the grace of God, because Oh, my pup can hear your pup barking. So she's
Oh.
I was like, we're barking at they're having their own podcast at the moment.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It's a lot. I think it's truly just prioritization. And for me, it's lots of lists, lots of calendars, and learning how to say no to things. There's a lot of things that I do say no to if it's not of value for my time, for the person's time. So I don't have a very great answer because it's not easy and I fail at it a lot. But just trying to like pick the priorities every day, one day at a time.
Got you. So, what would you say, I guess knowing what you know about the wrestling business, what is your biggest wrestling related pet peeve?
Cool. Heat. When people have heat with each other. This is stupid.
Yeah.
And when I hear about someone being mad at somebody for somebody else in the locker room or something like that, that's a big pet peeve of mine. Because I'm just like, what? Aren't we all adults here? Like, what's going on? So that's not just wrestling. That's
just life.
Right? Like people being immature in life, I think. But that one caught me off guard in the wrestling industry of like this concept of having heat but then like also people not even knowing they had heat with other people. I'm like, wait, what?
Right.
This is real?
Yeah, it's babysitting egos is I've had to do that in my professional life here and there, and it just I generally don't have the time or the bandwidth to want to babysit egos too much, but it is what it is.
Believe it or not, there is a lot of parallels between a wrestling locker room and a corporate boardroom as far as
go. I could see that. So and this is just an opinion question. In your opinion, is it more valuable for a wrestler to be great in the ring or great on the mic?
Oh, Nick just looked at me from across the room because he's like, if you say the wrong answer on this, we're not married anymore. I'm married to Jamie Stanley, so it has to be better on the mic. But I truly, but opinionated, like I believe that too. Like, you can be all-star technical wrestler, like the best in the world at that. And if you can't cut a promo, I don't know how far you're going to go.
Right.
But if you can make me feel something and invest it in your story, your wrestling can be, B status. That's okay. It's like, as long as you're not, botching every match and you're telling a good story, I'm okay with that. So yeah, absolutely cutting a promo on the mic.
Gotcha.
Did I answer right? Nicholas? Okay, he says yes.
So again, glancing over at the Instagram chat, a ring announcer from down in your neck of the woods, Matt Lloyd, just popped in. I had him on recently. He is a great dude.
What a great person. Love Matt.
Yeah. Yep.
Matt showed up at our last kids show to ring announce for our kids show. That's not straight.
Oh, that's cool.
That's only for parents. I walked in the door and I'm like, what are you doing here? He's like, George asked me if I would. And I'm like, and you did? That is so sweet. He's the best.
That's awesome. And knowing what I know of him, that sounds typical. Mm-hmm. So, but, interestingly enough, when I, like I said, I became a wrestling fan around the age of 11, actually as a kid in Florida. I lived for about 7 years in Cocoa Beach, so not terribly far from Orlando,
No, Nick wrestles in
but
Cocoa Beach like once a month.
but this was a long time ago. This was the late 70s to early 80s. So, many, many moons ago. But so do you have an all-time favorite match as a fan?
Oh,
Is there a match that just speaks to you that you just really kind of is near and dear to your heart?
probably no, not one
Okay.
that isn't of recent. And I can't even I'm not even going to tell you who was in it. This is how I'm going to embarrass myself. I was praying you wouldn't ask me like wrestling specific questions because I'm like, I went to wrestling school. I need to be able to answer those. But the women's match at the most recent WrestleMania, was it a 4-way or a 3-way that opened it? The opening match. I remember Bianca being in it. That one just blew my mind this year. So I know that's recent, but that was one of my favorite matches. And if I can recall a match off the top of my head, it's probably my favorite match.
Gotcha. I have actually, having been watching wrestling for as long as I have really enjoyed seeing the evolution of women's wrestling, to where they are basically on a par with the men's wrestling in terms of taking it seriously now as an athletic endeavor rather than, back when they were, called divas and such, where it was more, it was, I'm pleased to see it at the point it's at now.
Yeah, so. I loved when Nick and I were dating, it was the Total Divas era. So we would watch. I was a religious Total Divas watcher, obsessed with it. Nikki Bella is my all-time favorite. I love Nikki Bella. I went to Raw last week and she wrestled, and it was the first time that I got to see her in person, and I thought that was amazing. But yeah, I love watching the women now. I think they're incredible. They look amazing. I make wrestling gear. Their wrestling gear is amazing. I'm they rock.
Gotcha. So Matt Lloyd actually just commented that kids show was awesome, and HOC kids are built different.
They are. That's very, very true.
So let's see here. Okay. So what is your take on the role that social media is playing as a promotional tool in wrestling, specifically indie wrestling, and what's going on with the HOC?
Oh, it's everything. It's everything. You could get signed off social media these days. Truly. I believe that. It'll take more than just posting. Obviously, it'll take good strategy and good content and a plan, but it can happen. I love seeing guys and girls use social media correctly and then actually see growth on it. It's free. We had Matt Cardona come in for a seminar right when he was injured. It was during his injured period on the indie run. And he was free advertising. If you're not doing it, you're an idiot, because he's just very blunt like that. But he's right. And I think the double-edged sword of it is anybody can do it, but everybody thinks, because everybody can do it, everybody thinks it's easy. But people do go to school for it. And there is a strategy around how to grow and how to stay focused and how to speak to the audience. I think somebody that does a really great job and has seen the growth and has blown up from it is Ben Bishop. He found his lane and he hammered it home, and it worked. So yeah, I actually have a marketing class. I do about once a month. I haven't done it in a few months because our schedule's been busy at the HOC, but I have it tomorrow night, and I've been practicing what I'm going to cover because we have so many new students and there's so many different lanes I could go down. I'm well, I don't want to go too deep because a lot of them need a high level intro to it. And it's definitely going to be around social media. But I've been thinking a lot about Cardona now getting signed again, and about Chelsea and just what she did when she had her indie run. And granted, they were signed previously. So like that is a lever. That's a factor. However, it doesn't take away from what they did on the indies and from how they promoted themselves. They have a brand and they know who they are, and then they shout it from the rooftops.
Yeah, they are unashamedly who they are.
Yeah. And I tell the kids all the time, because they're like, well, I feel like I post the same thing. I said, good, because I want you to look at your feed and feel like you are annoyingly repetitive. And if you feel like you aren't being annoyingly repetitive, then you're not posting enough, or you're talking about too many different things. But that's a hard concept, like for people to wrap their head around sometimes. I'm like, wait, I have to post the same thing over and over and over. Yeah. It's like on average, from a marketing perspective, it takes a consumer 7 touch points before they actually buy something. So from that perspective, I do want you posting at least once a day. And it should probably be roughly around the same message every time.
Absolutely. So, it's really been interesting. Like I said, watching the business evolve, especially over the last probably 7 to 8 years, with really the true rise of the indies. There is so much content out there now. I mean, and when I'm saying content, I'm meaning actually pretty good content. That it's hard to carve out the time during the week to consume all that you want to consume. I mean, just in general, what are your thoughts on the current state of the industry?
The indies?
Yeah, just the wrestling industry in general, indies and non-indies, so to speak.
I don't think wrestling's ever been hotter. Transparently. So specifically on the indies, I'm going to talk about that for a second. There's so much content, to your point, much content. I was actually thinking yesterday, I'm going to age myself a little bit, but I remember the days when you would go on your Facebook feed and you'd get to the end. You're like, oh, well, I'm done. I got to wait like an hour until I have to post. I can hear the HOC students watching this being like, oh my gosh, you're so old, Renee. Now there's so much. There's just countless amounts of content. So as a fan, wonderful. Like if you could sit there all day long and watch wrestling, like you have more than enough content to watch. So I think it's great. I think there's a lot of, like anything, there's a lot of bad content. There's a lot of good content. But I think in general, I feel like the quality of the content has gotten better. Like in the last 5 years that we've been in it, like reality stuff is amazing. Like look at their studio and their production house, and everything that they're putting out there, and all these indies, right? Like you can't call that an indie, even though it technically is. Like it looks incredible. And our production at the HOC, we are a wrestling school, but I'll be darned if we put out a product that doesn't look amazing. So we're striving to be just as good and to have incredible quality and stand out too. So I think the point behind that is in situations like that is rising tide lifts all boats in that scenario. So I feel like the quality in general has gone up, and that it's exciting to see from a broader perspective of the industry. I still work corporate marketing as well. So I get to work in the paid media world and among the networks and all those fun, fancy things. But the data on that side as well shows that wrestling has never been hotter as well. I mean, the Netflix deal is ridiculously ginormous and a huge deal for the industry, and the licensing partnerships and all of the product partnerships with brands that WWE continues to form. I think the most iconic one being Slim Jim, that's still around to this day, but now we're seeing ones that are becoming iconic's a little too strong of a word, but creating into a legacy partnership. Like the C4 one, I've seen the performance data behind that. It's incredible, like on how effective that was. They now have this one with Minute Maid, which is all over the place. Every time I go to a Wawa, I see it. So it's so mainstream now. Like, even if you don't watch wrestling, you're going to recognize Cody Rhodes most likely, just because he's literally all over everything.
Right. You know, you were just mentioning you were just mentioning Wawas. You know, we do not have those up here in Georgia.
No.
No, as I keep hearing about this thing called a Wawa, and I want to go and experience one, but they don't have them here yet.
This thing called a Wawa. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like some real extreme like gas station loyalty among people.
Oh yeah.
I'm not one of them.
We've got Buc-ee's. We've got Buc-ee's, but we don't have Wawas.
I mean, I love Buc-ee's, but that is like you need like an hour when you stop at Buc-ee's. That's not a quick trip.
Yeah.
No, Wawa's good. I know GMJ goes to Wawa like every day and buys a sub. Keiko is there all the time too. I've actually yet to have a Wawa sub. People are gonna yell at me. Apparently they're really good, but
interesting. Interesting. So, knowing everything you know at this point in your life, if you could give any advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Oh man, these are so deep, these questions. Just trust the process. Trust God, probably.
Yep.
I thought my life was going to look so different. I thought I was going to be, own a record label by the time I was 40. I'm not 40 yet, by the way, but like that's what I thought I would do. And I was in the music industry for 6 years. It prepared me for something much bigger and something else. So I've done a lot of random things, and now, 36 years in, I'm starting to see some of them connect. Like, okay, it's all leading to a different purpose and a plan. So I think it's just trust God and trust the process.
Absolutely. You were mentioning that you worked in the music industry, and so obviously you must have an affinity for music yourself. Do you play any instruments, or do you do anything musical yourself?
Fun question. Yes, I'm a classically trained pianist. I was trained from 8 years old to 20. We have a piano in the house. I don't play it that often, but yes, so piano is my main instrument. I'm also played saxophone for 8 years, alto for 6, soprano for 2.
My wife played tenor sax in high school.
Yep. I still have my soprano. The kids they pull it out every now and then when they see it, and they try to play it. So yeah, I love music. That's why I went to school for it. My degree's in music industry management. I never wanted to major in the performance of it. That wasn't my thing. I wanted to be on the business side. Like I said, I've always had an entrepreneurial itch or a business itch. But when I got into it, it definitely did kill the love and the passion for the art a little bit. So I'd say probably the last 5 years, I've started listening to music in the car again. I wouldn't even listen to it in the car. I'd rather just ride in silence for a long time, just because like it was my job. I'm like, I don't want to do this if I'm not working.
Gotcha. What genres of music do you gravitate toward?
So I'm a country girl. I grew
Nothing
up
wrong with that.
Music. I worked in the country music industry. I moved to Nashville and worked on Music Row for a long time. So that's definitely my guilty pleasure now. But now it's my guilty pleasure. It used to be my main time. I love Christian music now. Like I love Brandon Lake. We listen to Brandon Lake all the time. That's my rotating Pandora at the moment. And then when we're working out, we listen to Christian hip hop a lot.
Nice. Well, like I said, before we went on the air, when I got started doing live streaming, I was actually doing this type of thing, but with unsigned bands. And, I'm a hobbyist musician myself. I grew up playing guitar, and several years ago, my son took up guitar and absconded with all of my guitar gear. And so that Christmas, he and my wife surprised me with a bass. And I had never touched a bass, let alone tried to play one. And I started noodling around on it. And I discovered fairly quickly that I'd been a bass player all these years and just never knew it. I absolutely love playing bass. It's just a hobby for me, you know, but I get a lot of joy out of it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I love that. Same. Like I just will play the piano when I have a spare second. And I also feel like the joy has come back. So I can relate.
That's good. That's good. So something that we've done in all of these that's just been kind of fun is we let the current guest pose a question for the next guest. So my previous guest, like I mentioned earlier, is a guy named Patrick Tully, who is an indie wrestler out in Washington State. And the question that he posed is, what are you consciously doing to try to improve the indie wrestling culture?
It's the people first mindset at the school. Yeah, we teach wrestling. Absolutely. But you know, I mentioned the 3 C's, right? Like,
Yeah.
we mean it. You're going to do burpees if you caught cursing in the HOC.
Good.
Like, I don't care personally if you curse. If you want to go outside the walls and not do that, it's fine. But I guarantee you show up and act like a professional and speak like a professional, you're going to stand out. And I've been close enough to an indie locker room to know it sounds filthy most of the time. So just instilling good character, professionalism, and good morals into the people that walk out of our school. So when they go into the indie wrestling world, they can carry themselves well and lift the people up around them.
Absolutely. So since this is part of a series, do you have a question that you would like to ask the next guest? If nothing comes to mind, you can always DM me with something later, or I mean, so don't feel like you're on the spot.
Let me DM you. I'm going to DM you.
Okay.
I want to think about it. I don't want to just throw one out there.
Absolutely. So,
do you know who the next guest is? Is it a HOC member?
Well, the next wrestling related guest is actually this Sunday at noon. I've actually got a. This is one of these cool situations where I've got somebody that's involved with wrestling, but is also involved in music. This guy is actually from the UK. And he is actually the lead vocalist for a WWE tribute band out in England. Their set list is entirely wrestler entrance themes.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. Or
is he just
no, but I mean, you know, like I said, peripherally involved with the business, because you know what he's doing is sort of related, but yeah, so I mean, the next wrestling, the next actual wrestler guest is actually a week from Friday. But it's a guy named Dallas Dash.
Okay. I have a question for your your music person.
Okay.
What does you wish every wrestler knew about the music industry? Is my question. Because we actually have a lot of talks about music with our wrestlers at our school.
That's actually a really good question.
Because we're always literally, it's on the agenda item for tomorrow for our team meeting to talk about like music because of copyright issues and YouTube copyright issues. So I'm curious to see what his answer would be.
That's a really good question. Have you ever considered having Max do a talk on the parallels between the music business and wrestling?
I haven't, but he absolutely could. I feel like that would be very interesting, and I guarantee you there's a ton.
Oh, for sure, for sure. You know, when I had him on the show, we went off on a tangent, basically talking about how being, the whole sort of full circle thing, does being a wrestler make you a better musician, and does being a musician make you a better wrestler? And, and that was an interesting discussion. So, yeah, I mean, just a thought, if he's got the time, it might be an interesting little thing for him to do.
We'll have to catch him when he's in town.
Yeah,
he is
for sure.
in town this week, though. He's got a big ID showcase match on Saturday at the HOC.
Yeah. So, that's actually a perfect segue. We're getting toward the end of things now. So I know you've got the ID showcase thing coming up, but definitely talk about that. But do you have any other upcoming shows or anything you want to give some hype to?
Well, we're kicking off our 26 student shows on, let me check make sure I get the date right. January 22nd will be our first student show of the year. The majority of our student shows are free. So if you're in the Central Florida area and you want to come, all you have to do is RSVP. We do have limited capacity, so we ask that people RSVP for a head count, but it's free. So that's on the 22nd, but also we do free training weeks, and we have one coming up, and that is going to be that same week, January 19th through the 23rd. That is for anybody, if anybody's ever wanted to try out wrestling and get in the ring, anybody that has wrestled in the past and wants to get some training in, literally every class that week is free. So you just sign up on our website for that. So those are the two big events that are coming up for this month.
Nice. Well, as far as what we've got coming up on the Throwdown, this Saturday, the 10th at 3 p.m. Eastern, we're doing, like I said, we still do some occasional musically oriented episodes. And this is an episode of what we call Pop Goes the Throwdown, which is kind of a pop culture centric sort of sister series. And our guest is a musician and comedian by the name of Jason Drew. And this guy's shtick is he basically does cover songs in an Asian accent that he doesn't actually possess, even though he is Asian. He and his wife are really kind of blowing up on social media doing this stuff right now. And we've developed a friendship of sorts, and I'm definitely excited to have him come on and just talk about how all of this came to be. It'll definitely be entertaining. and then, like I said, on Sunday the 11th at noon Eastern, we've got episode 189 of the Throwdown with UK-based WWE tribute band Super Slam. We're, as far as I know, we're just going to have Lewis, who is the lead vocalist. It's possible we may have some other band members, but he's the only one that I know of for sure. But Renee, this has been an absolute pleasure. So thank you so much for doing this. And before we wrap all this up, do you have any final words?
No, I just appreciate you having me on, Matt. Nick asked me before I came on, he's like, is this your first solo podcast where you like invited on? And I was like, oh, I guess it is. So usually they invite both of us. So thanks for giving me the chance to do this without Nick. I never get a chance, even though I miss him. I love him. I'll probably do the next one with him. But no, I appreciate you. If anybody wants to check out more about the House of Champions, we are in Longwood, Florida. I know you have all the details on the screen, but it's thehocpro.com. Everything's on there. If anybody needs marketing advice, follow me on Instagram.
Absolutely. And so I guess, until Saturday at 3 with Jason Drew, Be good to each other, love each other, and let's keep throwing down.